All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar today. We're talking about the impact analysis product and harnessing AI for smarter RPG analysis and documentation. We've done a series of these webinars, and if you're new to the impact analysis product, I'll do a quick review of some of the key features. But what I really want to focus on today is how you can leverage the impact analysis product to help you create and maintain and just maybe just leverage it as your documentation engine, kind of, your reference point for your RPG applications. Because navigating the code is fun. I'm a coder from way back. I'm a geek when it comes to that kind of stuff. But sometimes you need something a little more productive, right? I actually used this slide on the last webinar, so I apologize for people who've seen it already, but I think it's very, very important. And that, when I think about my career, I've evolved over time. And one of the things that's for sure is the old cliche, the only constant in the universe is change. And user interfaces have changed tremendously. Long way from vacuum tubes and punch cards, which is where I started, was punch cards actually. And then terminals and PCs, and then we had the web, web 1.0 versus web 2.0, and maybe it's 2.5 now or 3. It's I don't know, depending on who's keeping score. But the reality is, for sure, is that agentic AI has come into the scene, whether we like it or not. Right? It's an element out there. Almost all the browsers nowadays, when you go in and you search for something, the first response you're getting is something from an AI response. Then you have to kind of scroll down to see the remaining things. So I think what's going to happen is kind of like using that Star Trek analogy. I'm a big fan of Star Trek. um, the user interface is going to evolve from a typewriter, from a keyboard to the spoken word, right? So it's going to continue. I think this has been going on for many many years. Those of us who have an Alexa or a Siri or any of those types of tools that we've kind of slowly gotten comfortable with. Well, we're seeing the same thing with the AI interface. So that's one of the things that I shouldn't say we, our amazing development team has added to the IA product, is the ability to take advantage of some of these things. And why do you need impact analysis? Why do you care about something like this? And there's a laundry list of issues. A couple of them that I've highlighted here. A lot of us have an aging code base, and the reality is, everybody has an aging code base. As soon as you put something into production, the Standish Group, I think it was, says the average life expectancy of a production application is 17 years. Now, if you're coupled, if you're tightly coupled with the front end, it's probably a lot less than that. But once you decouple a business application from the front end, to the back end, whether it's a green screen, whether it's a web application, whether it's APIs, there's a real good chance, excuse me, that application is going to be around for a good long time. And so the code gets older. We have an aging developer base out there. We've got a lot of folks out there. I've got gray hair. It's I like to think I'll be around forever, but yeah, maybe not. Also, changing things is hard, right? Because the longer it stays in production, the more reluctant we are to change things, to alter things. Some of us haven't really created a lot of tests. Changes can also be costly and slow, and so that's another issue that we run into. And again, there's that talent gap out there. Do we have the right people? I worked with a manager many years ago who gave me a piece of friendly advice. He says, Mike, there will always be a shortage of good people. And I'm like, interesting. So as long as you be a you be a good person, you'll hopefully be in demand. Who knows with this AI future and that kind of stuff. But also we got issues with data access. You got silos and islands and duplicate data and stuff like that. And how do we approach things like DevOps and the hybrid cloud? So, if there was something that could help us down this road, I'm not offering a magic bullet here, right? But I am offering something that could help improve productivity, overall, help move the ball forward, as we like to say. So the key is productivity, right? What can we do to demonstrate that we're working smarter, not harder, that we're working more effectively, more efficiently. So AI tools and more modern tooling becomes very, very attractive because of things like suggestive development. I'm not an advocate of turning my a vibe coding necessarily, although in some certain scenarios that can certainly be useful. But the moving on from that, we've got things like being able to build automated testing. I mean, there's a lot of programmers out there don't like writing tests. So that's a very interesting point there. So being able to maybe scaffold some basic testing and again help us down that curve is it becomes really, really attractive. Also bridging the skills gap. We've got people out there who have amazing skills and some people who are new and some people who are not so good. What can we do to help the junior programmer become a senior programmer faster, right? That everybody wants to move down that road faster. Everybody wants a bigger paycheck, but do we want to put in the effort? And AI and tools like this can help us down that road. And the code analysis and explanation features of IA are key to leveraging that kind of stuff and helping everybody become more productive, including the non-technical people like the business analysts. I'm a big advocate of leveraging a business analyst to be more autonomous, independent, and that can help improve things a little bit as well. So there we go. So not very heavy on slides today. I want to really kind of dig into the product and take you on that nickel tour, so you can see what are some of the really, really cool things that the guys in development, guys and gals in development have put out there. All right. So as a quick review, the IA product runs 100% on the IBM I, so you don't have to install any additional servers. It's just a little bit of software, and it'll load on your system. Now, a typical environment, we're going to see pretty much one or two repositories depending on how your environment is set up. But right off the bat, we give you a dashboard that's kind of showing you some key information. Again, quick review here. One of my favorites here is members by source line, because I want to keep an eye on how many monolithic programs I have versus what I would call more reasonable length code programs. 0 to 300, we've got a lot of those out there. I got 27 that are 3,000 lines or more. I want to see that number going down, and I want to see that number going up. So keeping an eye on that kind of stuff is useful stuff there. But there's other information on the dashboard that could be equally as useful depending on your shop. If you're monitoring the number of objects, objects by size, tables, table references. So we're working on more and more widgets for this type of an interface, and we're going to continue to grow this kind of stuff here so we could see really, really useful information. So let me just 1 second here. All right. And one of the other things that you may be aware of, those of us, those of you who've been around my demos before, that dashboard came up really fast. The guys are really good at working on performance enhancements and tuning the system, which is really, really nice. So it's a very, very key concept there. All right, so I'm just going to demo one or two of the base features just as a quick review, and then I'm going to dig deep into the AI side of life. Now, a lot of our processes here in IA are driven by menus, which is a really good way to use the product. It can be very, very precise, and it's also very, very flexible. So if I'm looking for something like the custom mask table, the nice thing is I don't have to put in a library or an object type. I just go ahead and throw it in there, and the interface is going to filter it. It's going to show me all the things that begin with custom mask, and there we go. So I've got the customer master table right there, and I can navigate, through the object references pretty quickly, pretty easily. Likewise, I can do something very similar with the member reference as well. So the repository retains a lot of good information. And if I want to look at the source for that, boom, I can just click the button and boom, now I'm looking at the source code. Now we're going to come back to this a little bit later on, so pay attention. You notice the source is very, very sparse. That's going to play to our advantage in just a few minutes. Really, really cool thing there. Now, in addition to that, I don't think I highlight this enough, but we have the ability to search for procedures, right? Which some of the other tools out there that do impact analysis may not have this feature in them. But we think it's very, very important to be able to navigate and find what you're looking for, from a procedure standpoint, procedure where used and that kind of stuff. So So, this is all really, really good information, and I will be highlighting this throughout the demonstration, but just so that I kind of made it very, very clear, we can export this information, right? So if you need this information about where this procedure is used, for example, or what it's calling, what it's referencing, and that sort of thing. And maybe you want to take this and you want to export it because you want to attach it to a Jira ticket, right? So somebody else can do a database change, heaven forbid, or maybe just a modification to the interface or something like that. I can go ahead and I can click the export process, and it's going to asynchronously, it's going to open up a little window here, and it's going to show me that the process is pending. I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab here. And then, again, because it's processing asynchronously, it might take a second or two, which is perfectly okay. And once it's done, oh, there we go. It's in progress. That's a good sign. And I think if I refresh one more time, oh, okay, we'll give it another second or two here. We're running on a shared processor here, so it's probably not too zippy in that respect. Let's see. We'll go ahead and get that thing to run as quickly as we can here. All right, one more time, one more refresh, and we'll give up. All right, we'll come back to that. But anyway, the nice idea is we can export this information so that we can use it, attach it to an email, that kind of stuff. We try one more time here, see if we're done yet. All right, we're going to move on here. So the idea is that you've got that flexibility, right? You've got that open opportunity to take advantage of the documentation. I can show you some examples of that in a few minutes. When we get to that point in the process. But one of the things I really want to highlight here is the fact that our R&D team has done a great job enhancing some of the prompts, right? And some of the prompts that we have are purely text oriented. I've been playing around with some of this stuff for the last couple of days, and you'll see this little icon, little ball here in the lower right hand corner, and that kind of shows us that this is our AI code assistant. So at any point in time, you could certainly use the menu options to navigate and get to what you're looking for. But I want to show you two things right here with this particular example here, is that I can actually navigate directly to code, or I can ask a question directly here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to navigate to a particular program. This is the one I was playing with yesterday, which is a really good example because it's kind of a meaty program, as we like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and filter on that guy right there. Okay, there he is. And you'll notice that I can go ahead and I can click the view source button here, and I can look at this program, and it's a pretty good length program. And again, this is a look, don't touch kind of a scenario here. So we don't have the ability to edit the program here, but we can go ahead and look around at some things here. And if I click on the AI assistant, right, boom, now the AI assistant is available, and it is focused on this particular program, which for some reason is not showing up in the side window here. I'm not sure why. That's interesting. Let's see. I wonder if that just it loaded the page funny here. Let me go ahead and fire that up one more time. The AI assistant. Okay. For some reason, it's just not showing up in there. Oh, there's not enough space in the file system. That's an interesting error message. Let me see if we can get this to work anyway. Okay. So the program itself, I can navigate between the tabs. That's not a problem. As you look at the program, we see a lot of things like DSpecs, combination of fixed format as well as free format kind of code and that kind of stuff. And there might be an opportunity to improve the performance of some of this stuff here. So how do we navigate that? There's ways from an AI perspective that we can ask it to do certain things, right? So I'm going to ask. I'll ask a simple question to see if this guy comes up all right here. It might not. We'll see. All right, there we go. So I'm going to ask for it to suggest ways to optimize the program's code. And oh, that's not working. Oh, I got a problem there. That's interesting. That's interesting. It's not. We got a little bug going on there. Let me see here. What I'm going to do. It's interesting. I think we might have a little problem on the system here with the demo system, guys. I don't know if we have a backup we can go to. Might have to back up and retrench on this particular webinar. Let's see here. what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sign out really quick, just to kind of maybe clear its mind a little bit, as we like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and log out, and we'll go ahead and we'll reload the page a little bit here. There we go. Let's see if that'll make a difference. Nothing like a live demo is what I like to say. Got it. All right, so we're back up in here. We're going to take a look at something really quick here. And let's see if we can get back to, oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, we found our member. And if I go ahead and do this, and if I do that, let's see if it'll come up this time. Yeah, looks like we're having a little problem with the live demo here, folks. I apologize. We might have to scrap the discussion a little bit here. But in the meantime, let me go back and just again highlight some of the key features here and see if maybe we can kind of knock something loose, as we like to say. One of the things that we've talked about, I haven't talked about in a while, is the DDS to DDL conversion. And this is a really cool feature that will allow you the ability to take your existing DDS tables and generate DDL. And one of the things that we like to do with our products is we don't like to overpromise, right? We like to make sure that that folks understand what we're offering and how things work. And so when we say we're creating DDL, now we can actually go through, especially like on a test system, you can go cradle to grave to generate the new table and copy the data and everything, right? So and you can test the process and that kind of stuff. But what I found is in many cases, customers like to take advantage of a tool like this to generate the DDL. And then on that last mile, the customer wants to do some last minute tweaking, right? So they'll take the DDL that's generated, make some edits to that kind of stuff, and then finish off, creating the new tables and copying the data. Again, it's completely up to you. It's your dime, your dance floor, as we like to say, as I like to say to my customers. And the nice thing is that you can select a library and you can select a specific object to convert if you want to do some minimal testing, or you can select all the tables in a given library and convert the whole thing if you want. And again, the whole idea here is that as developers, sure, we can read the DDS and create DDL and that kind of stuff. But the nice thing is that a lot of that is busy work. It's just a matter of typing in information and that sort of thing. So being able to navigate through and take advantage of tooling that's going to help you automate this process becomes extremely helpful and that sort of thing. In addition to that, so that's the DDL to some additional features that we have in our DDS to DDL conversion. Certainly you can try converting more than once, right? That there's a reason I'm not a surgeon, right? I like to be able to try things multiple times, that kind of stuff, until I get it right. So we can certainly replace the converted source in the target library. I'm a big fan of using a separate library for the conversion. Then we can move the objects around if you need to. And then of course we can include some dependent files, but this, the bottom three options here are really kind of nifty. And that is, including audit columns and identity columns. And what's nice about those is that it's going to automatically toss in a couple of columns on your table, which would take care of stuff that you would typically see in a very modern database table, right? So audit columns and identity columns are really useful. And here's the thing, you don't necessarily have to use the identity column right away, but knowing that when you've converted your database table that it's there and you can take advantage of it when you're ready, great. And when you're ready to start introducing proper, relational constraints, instead of using, some of the main key values, you might use the identity columns, to do that kind of work. So again, it's a feature that's available out there for you to take advantage of when you're ready to have some fun with that kind of stuff. All right. In addition to that, we've got our source scan, and that comes in really handy as well, because now we can do things like if you ever done fine string PDM in in the on the green screen, that becomes really, really useful. And then again, we got things like object where used, variable where used, all of the key features that you might expect to see in a tool like this. And now a couple of the features that I'm a big fan of, I'm a big fan of the object context matrix. And let me see if I can do, if I have there we go. That's one of my favorites there. And I'm going to go ahead and generate the object context matrix for a menu particularly. And what is nice about this is that the object context matrix gives you at a glance, what's going on, what is this program talking to, what is it interfacing with, and again, we can do the export to PDF sort of thing as well. So we can go ahead and take advantage of exporting to a PDF or exporting to Excel, and you get a really nice formatted document that shows you a lot of good information about this sort of thing. So we can see things like, how many files are used for input, how many files are used for update and output and that sort of thing. We can also see things like the bounded service programs and, how many programs is it calling? So, if you're making a change to this guy, now you got an idea of what the impact of testing is going to be about for you. And being able to, do a block copy and paste of this into an Excel, or actually just generate it into Excel and then, passing this along to your testing team, to go ahead and navigate through this becomes really, really attractive. So there's a lot of cool features that are built into IA. And so, it's kind of nifty stuff. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pop up the solution one more time. Let me see if my demo is working this time. I think maybe we might have knocked something loose here. Let's go ahead and take a look at something real quick here. So I'm gonna go back to the same program I was looking at earlier, and let's see if that guy comes up. There he is. And if I go ahead and pop him up here, and there's the program. Let's see if the AI agent is happy this time. Oh, look at that. I think he's better now. Okay. Yeah, technology is great when it works. And just to kind of give you guys a little background on this, we're actually using a private workspace on the Google Cloud here, which is helping us with the Gemini agent here. So there's a little bit of cloud connectivity that's going on, and I think one of the guys had to just kind of make sure everything was, all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. So let's get back into the AI aspect of this sort of thing. So as we can see in the left-hand pane, we've got a very large program, quite a few lines of code. I'm going to navigate down here. We've got 850 lines of code, so it's a decent sized program, right? File specs, D specs, a combination of things going on in here. So it's a great poster child for, hey, I want someone to go in and kind of just update the code, refactor it. No, we're not looking to make major changes to it. Or maybe not going to make any changes at all, but we want to make the code as contemporary as possible. And so we might want to look at a couple of things. So for example, I might ask for, in this case here, that's a really good idea. I'll do that. And let's see if that'll work. So I'm going to say, suggest ways to optimize the program's code, right? Because maybe the program's just a little sluggish, or maybe, when the program was built, you had 10 users, but now you got 1,000, right? So you start seeing things out there that can be a real challenge. And the nice thing about the way this AI interface works in this particular context is that all of my prompts are going to be focused specifically on this program. So that's a really key feature there that you could take advantage of here. And and we've asked the AI agent to do quite a bit of work, which is why it's taken a couple of seconds for it to come back on us here. And it's come back. There we go. And it's come back with some offerings and some suggestions. And here are some of the, and this can become kind of like a checklist for the new guy. And it's a great way to help the junior programmer become a senior programmer. It's offering us suggestions like convert to fully free format code, right? So there we go. How to change your D specs and stuff like that. So that's really nifty. Procedure interfaces. It's suggesting that we use sub procedures instead of subroutines. That is an excellent exercise, in my opinion, for the junior programmer to kind of beef up their skills. Say, hey, this program has 5 subroutines in it. I want you to change these to sub procedures. So, figure out what you need to do, and off you go. And again, that's a great way to get a junior developer more familiar with the application set and where things are running, and to get them to started down that road of doing the more modular development, which is what we all want in a contemporary environment. Replacing indicators with named booleans, right? So, and again, the nice thing about the AI prompts here is that these are suggestions. Just take them or leave them, right? And depending on the shop standard and what you're looking to do, that can be very, very attractive as well. And of course, one of my favorites here is, use embedded SQL for data access instead of the chain setl, read equals, and that kind of stuff. That's a religious discussion maybe for a different day, but I've had several conversations with Scott Forsty at IBM where he's mentioned the fact that a lot of this stuff, a lot of the performance, it used to be that your chain, your setl, read equal would outperform SQL. But several years ago, I want to say as long as maybe 8 or 9 years ago, that flipped, and now the SQL performance can outperform record level access. So getting into that SQL based perform record database access using SQL becomes really really attractive. And when you have to have another programmer kind of help out from maybe another platform or another system, they understand SQL. They may not understand chain and read equal, right? I'm not saying those are bad. It's just like, we're talking about again that technical debt that accumulates, that involuntary technical debt. These things happen, and that's really really kind of cool. So when you're trying to onboard new resources, tools like this agentic AI can be very 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 helpful. While we're doing this kind of stuff. And again, performance of these applications can really matter because with Moore's law, even though the newer machines, power 9, power 10, power 11, they get more and more powerful. Well, they really can't get all that much faster from a clock speed perspective. So it's all about multiprocessing and that kind of stuff. So taking advantage of program optimizations, is really really kind of a useful thing. All right, so I'm gonna grab another prompt here in this particular example. I want to see before I go. Yeah, let me go to the bottom of the response here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so one of the things, oh, refactoring the database schema is kind of cool. Oh, and consolidating repetitive logic. Yes, 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 yes. That's a really good point there. Again, a great place for the junior to start. Um, One of the things that the agentic AI is going to do for you is going to give you the ability to copy this information. So if you want to, create a checklist or something like that, you do a copy and paste that into a Word document or a text, maybe in an MD a file or something like that. Again, it becomes really, really useful in that respect. All right, let's try a slightly different prompt. In this case, I'm going to say share recommendations for improving code efficiency. So here we're looking at, how do we make the code itself more efficient? And it's kind of a variation of the previous prompt. But but when we look at the code, we see in some places we've got a lot of places where we've got some duplicate code, some maybe some inefficient things going on here, and again the prompts are there to help us to really improve the overall code base. And we start off with again I didn't mention this earlier, but it's the summary kind of highlights the fact that we've got a traditional fixed format style, and modernizing it to use embedded SQL would be a huge help. So free format, optimize the file IO for the SQL. Again, we're seeing some of the same things that came up before. Named constants is another key point. So sometimes when you ask a question to the AI, asking a slightly different one can give you another point, another key concept there. So these become very, very, very useful sorts of things. And in addition to that, when we come down here, if I click on the little star icon down here, we can say something. We can ask for certain things. For example, I can ask for different things like fetch the business rules. And what it's going to do now is it's actually having these speed menus here become very very useful in helping us to kind of lead the witness. And I don't even necessarily have to type in the prompt, but something that I might want to use on a regular basis. For example, if I am working with a business analyst who wants to try and be a little more autonomous and not tie up the developer, I can give that business analyst this kind of an interface, and they don't even have to know the prompt. They just go ahead and click on the star icon and for a given program, and poof, it's going to give us the business rules for this particular program. Now I mentioned before, this is a 800 line program, so the AI is going to need a little minute or two to digest this information, and then throw the response back. So this is a key concept. of, we want to, give the AI a chance to navigate this sort of thing. But as you can see, there's lots of subroutines. There's a load subroutine, display subroutines, and so on and so forth. Really, really nifty stuff here. Oh, and I didn't even notice this. This is a feature I wasn't even aware of. I can actually navigate. I can push the code off to the side a little bit and spend a little more time on the business. All right. So let's take a look at, when we ask for business rules, what are we going to get? Well, initially we get a business summary. And this alone can be very, very helpful in helping both the new developer and a business analyst or even a manager understand a little bit more about the program. We get a nice little summary. It's an interactive product management system designed for users on a traditional green screen interface, so on and so forth. We can see it's got some CRUD features, that's, adding new products, editing specific details. So again, really, really useful information at that summary level. But then we get down, we start to decompose, and it's organizing itself by screen functions, right? So we've got different screens out there, like the main screen, operations, and menu, and every business rule has like a unique ID and identifies the source code numbers that we're kind of navigating through, and it talks about what is going on here, right? So the application is designed to run a continuous loop until the user chooses to exit, and so on and so forth. The product list is always up to date, reflecting a current persons, current products. We also see things like product record management. We can see some of the key concepts around that. So again, this information becomes very, very useful to both the technical and the non-technical folks out there. And if you need to, there's always the ability to, do the block copy and paste into a Word document. I mean, one of the things that I've seen people do is that some people do still print documentation, which seems kind of crazy, but instead of putting it in a binder, it's on a folder on a drive somewhere. And that's okay. But what I like about the IA is that I can just give this to people, and this becomes like what I call living, breathing documentation. So you can actually take advantage of something like this on a day-to-day basis and not have to worry about things as we like to go around here. So that's very, very useful information right there. And of course, we got a little conclusion here. The analysis reveals the RPGLE code represents a well-structured and robust product management application. It adheres to classic legacy software design patterns. All right, so right there, okay, maybe there's an opportunity to improve on it, right? There we go. So again, the business rules become really, really useful as you're navigating through your adventures, as we like to say here. So really, really kind of cool stuff here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back over here and over here. I'm going to close up one or two of these tabs here so I can get back to something a little more consistent. There we go. All right, that's good. And that is very, very, very cool feature right there, in my humble opinion. And we got the copy. Yep. Covered a lot of that stuff there. Okay. Yes. Okay. And there's again, you can navigate through a lot of the prompts in this particular type of an interface and have a really good time with this sort of thing. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to come back here and I had mentioned the fact that earlier that we've got the ability to do some pretty cool things. And I was talking about the DDS to DDL conversion. And if I just go to the main input screen, there's an opportunity to do something like this, where I can say something like, hey, I'm not even going to go through the menu here. I'm just going to go ahead and pass in an instruction like, in this case, I'm going to say generate a DDL table structure for cusmast, right? That's my favorite table here, based on the DDS file. In other words, I'm not even going to create the DDL, but I want to see what it would look like, right? So show me what that would look like. And you'll notice I didn't tell it what library it's in. I didn't tell it anything. It's figuring that kind of stuff out for me. And keep in mind that these AI agents tend to be very conversational in nature. Oh, looks like it didn't want to communicate with me this time. I'm not sure what's going on with that. That is interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go back. Let's go back to the list of members here. List of objects, list of members. Yep. Yeah. Okay. All righty. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go back and navigate it this way again. And let's take a look here. And there's our cusmast. All right. So let's try that here. And let's see if that'll work a little bit better now. Now that I can focus. I think it may have gotten a little sideways there with some of the burps we had earlier. So let's go ahead and take a look at that DDS-DDL table structure here. Now, one of the things I want to highlight for you here is that if you look at the DDS here, it's very, very Spartan. We've got a record format. We've got columns, very short column names. All they're more than 6 characters at least, but they're still very, very short. And by today's database standards, way too short. And but if I want to flip this into DDL, there's my DDL statement. I can just go ahead and take this, paste this into run SQL scripts in ACS, or I can put it into a source member, or a lot of things we can do there. Again, we've got the automated feature that's in the menu option as well. But it also kind of gives me a little bit of an idea of what's going on here. But one of the things I can do is I can go ahead and I can take my prompt and I can enhance it a little bit. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to change this prompt a little bit. I'm going to say generate a DDL table definition for the customer master file based on its DDS structure and assign the long file name, right? So there we go. And so now, it's instead of giving me the shorter file name of, create table cusmast, it's going to now give me a slightly different version of that with a much longer file name specification, which is kind of cool, right? So we can see things like the create table, and it's creating the table, and we can also add in things like special labels and that sort of thing for the customer table as we're moving forward as well. So all useful kind of stuff as we go along here. Now, one other piece that may or may not work perfectly, and again, this is AI, so you want to test this stuff and have some fun with it. I challenged the AI a little bit. I'll wind up with this guy right here. In this particular example, actually, I'm going to add an additional prompt here, because in my opinion, this is the true value of AI. It's taking care of the busy work, right? So if I were to say something like, create long field names with primary and abstract key column, an update column and stuff like that. Now I'm asking it to do more, right? And one of the things you'll notice over here is that on this particular table, there's nothing here that says what these columns are, right? But the AI, and again, this is where AI can be useful, and it may not be perfect, but it can be useful. I'm saying, go ahead and create long field names, and it did. And so for cust ID, it figured out that's customer ID. For STF name, it says, oh, that's first name. STL name, that's last name, right? So the AI can interpret some of these things. Again, you want to double check and make sure it's all going to work perfectly for you. And it threw in a big int for the identity primary key, and it threw in a timestamp column as well. So again, with these prompts, you can have a lot of fun with enhancing your experience, whether you're a business analyst, whether you're a junior developer, whether you're a senior developer. You could take advantage of these features to help improve productivity overall. All right, so that was the fun demo today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to navigate over, back to the presentation real quick here. I've got only like 1 or 2 more slides to share with you right here. So a couple of things that we want to kind of wrap up with here. We here at Programmers IO, we're focused on the future, right? We're focusing on what's going to help add value, right? Because I mean, impact analysis tools have been around a while. I mean, I've been an expert at fine string PDM for years, but having a tool like this that can improve productivity, that's what it's all about. And just being able to find objects these days, it's helpful. But being able to have that agentic AI interface to help us to kind of move the ball forward faster, to extract business rules and see details like that, very, very useful things, very, very key concepts there. Being able to leverage these things for the people and the team moving forward is absolutely huge. I mentioned this, I think, last time I did the presentation, but I like to talk about this a little bit. At the end of the day, reach out to us and contact us to get some direct pricing information. But if you want to know the value of a tool like this, first of all, are people going to use it? I hope so. What's really nice about our tool is that it doesn't require you to use the green screen. It also doesn't require you to be a IBM kind of expert. So it really does open the door for business analysts or managers or super users to be able to navigate through this kind of stuff, which is really useful. And in smaller shops, there might not be that immediate value, but in larger shops, we certainly see that when we have business analysts working with developers. So if we do a little basic cost model here, and we say something like, well, man, my developers cost me $100 an hour, and my BAs cost me $60 an hour. Again, put in your own numbers, have some fun with that. And they typically will meet for about 20 hours a month, right? Maybe less, maybe more. A lot depends. Especially, a newer business analyst or a business analyst with a big project, it could be a lot of time. It could be less than that. And so you do some simple math and you multiply that out. That the meetings, for something like that, over the course of a month, over the course of a year, that can add up. And if you can recover maybe 70% of that time, 50% of that time, 40% of the time, you pick the percentage. That translates into real revenue. It translates into real productivity value. So I always like to kind of wrap up with the concept of, hey, a lot of cases these kind of solutions can pay for themselves, and you really want to take advantage of this kind of stuff, because this is how we all move the ball forward. I will say that the guys in my development team, in our development team, have done a fantastic job with the product. I keep firing things back at them. Our customers come back to us with suggestions, and they implement the suggestions even before I've had a chance to ask them for it sometimes. So it's really, really, we're very committed to the product. We're in very active development mode, as you can see. We've got a live demo with a couple of bumps along the way, as you saw there. That's reality for you folks. But as you also saw, our development team, our support team, knocked the issue out right away. So we were able to continue on with the webinar, which was fantastic. So I love to confess my sins and full disclosure and that kind of stuff, and just demonstrate the fact that we are committed to the platform and the product, and we'd love to work with you on this kind of stuff out there as well. All right. So if you'd like some help with your journey, as you're looking down the road of just, whether you're just keeping the lights on or looking to modernize, on platform, hybrid platform, off platform, we'd love to work with you on that kind of stuff. Give us a shout, and let us know how we can help, leverage AI to help accelerate the exploration and the modernization of your application set. All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in today, folks, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.